केसरिया से मन जोगी हुआ रे, दिल झूमे देखो मतवारा हुआ रे, केसरिया से मन जोगी हुआ।
हर पल मनाओ केसरी त्योहार। विमल, बोलो जुबान केसरी।
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. As we speak, Beijing is hosting what the US President Donald Trump has described as the biggest summit ever. On the first state visit to China in 9 years by a sitting American president, Trump is holding high-stakes talks with Chinese President Xi Jinping on trade, tariff and the widening West Asia conflict. Trump called US-China ties the world's most important bilateral relationship. That must never be messed up. Xi, in turn, asserted that the two nations must be partners, not rivals. But beyond the bilateral optics and diplomacy, the issue that has the world watching with bated breath is the Strait of Hormuz. According to the White House, the two sides were in agreement that Hormuz needs to be opened up to support global energy needs. The question now is, could China, Iran's closest economic partner and the biggest buyer of its oil, play the role of mediator? Could Beijing succeed where the West has struggled? And most importantly, could this summit help end the oil blockade that has the world reeling over?
Gotten along when there were difficulties, we worked it out. I would call you and you would call me, and whenever we had a problem, people don't know, whenever we had a problem, we worked that out very quickly. We're going to have a fantastic future together.
I always believe that our two countries have more common interests than differences. China and the United States both stand to gain from cooperation and lose from confrontation. We should be partners, not rivals.
The deepening economic uncertainty has been sending shockwaves across Asia. The fallout of war also cast a long shadow over the BRICS foreign ministers meeting in New Delhi today. For the first time since the Iran conflict erupted, Prime Minister Narendra Modi held key interactions with Iranian Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi and Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov on the sidelines of the summit. External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar urged BRICS nations to coordinate more closely in times of crisis.
Many countries face challenges on energy, food, fertilizer and health security, as also access to finance. BRICS can help them respond more effectively.
As much as our powerful armed forces remain ready to exact devastating retribution on foreign aggressors, my people are peace-loving and do not seek war. We are not aggressor in this sordid situation, but the aggrieved.
With oil routes under threat and markets on edge, diplomacy is now moving into overdrive. Prime Minister Modi is leaving for a trip to the UAE tomorrow, a day before US deadline for waiver of sanctions on Russian oil import ends. But with fuel prices on fire, the blowback is growing. Rupee has slipped to a record low against the dollar. The retail inflation has surged to a 42-month high. In a bid to protect domestic supply, the government has now moved to curb sugar exports. And there could be more pain ahead for consumers. With global crude prices remaining volatile, fuel retailers are staring at massive losses on petrol, diesel and LPG sales. According to the government estimates themselves, oil companies are losing nearly 30,000 crore every month. That is 1,000 crores per day, with quarterly losses projected to touch almost 1 lakh crore rupees. The pressure is now mounting on the government and oil marketing companies, raising fears that a petrol and diesel price hike may just be a matter of time.
The government has reduced excise duty to take on some of the burden, and some of the burden through a price cap the AMCs are right now bearing. But if this is to continue for longer period of time, it's already, about 75 days. It's a matter of time that the government will actually pass on some of these price increases.
Despite a more than 50% surge in global crude oil prices, the government has so far kept petrol, diesel and domestic LPG prices unchanged in a bid to shield household consumers from the full impact of the crisis. But with pressure mounting on both the rupee and India's import bill, the centre is now pushing what it calls economic patriotism, urging citizens to conserve fuel and reduce unnecessary consumption to protect both energy reserves and foreign exchange. The Save Fuel drive is now picking pace, but the opposition has dismissed the campaign as mere optics, arguing that symbolism alone cannot cushion households from the economic shock of war.
Diversions being created by Mr. Sambit Patra and the BJP. The real issue is the economic collapse that is tearing the country. The real issue is the setbacks after setbacks our foreign policy is receiving. Those are the real issues. PM, who is thoroughly exposed domestically and internationally. So all this is to take attention away from that and to talk about Mr. Rahul Gandhi's foreign trips in the past.
महंगाई का बम फटना ही फटना है. अब उसके लिए आप ये सारी चाक चौबंद करने की कोशिश कर रहे हैं, क्योंकि आप कंट्रोल नहीं कर पा रहे हैं.
बात तो अच्छी कहा उन्होंने, भाई पूरे दिक्कतें हैं, पर चुनाव के पहले इसको बोलना चाहिए था. जब बंगाल का चुनाव था, असम का चुनाव था, केरल का चुनाव था, पौंडीचेरी का था, पहले क्यों नहीं बोले? और हमारे नेता आदरणीय राहुल जी पहले ही बोले कि समस्याएं हैं, बहुत बड़ी समस्याएं हैं.
अपने कॉन्वॉय को लूज करने से प्रधानमंत्री का काम चल रहा है, तो सवाल ये है, तो 45 गाड़ियां या 20 गाड़ियों की जरूरत क्या थी? जब अगर प्रधानमंत्री 2 गाड़ियों से चल सकते हैं और उसकी पूरी वीडियो रील बना के इंस्टाग्राम फेसबुक पर डलवा रहे हैं, इसका मतलब वो चल सकते थे 2 गाड़ियों से. सिर्फ प्रधानमंत्री और ऊर्जा संकट के समय में सोशल मीडिया में दिखाने के लिए अगर ये कर रहे हैं तो ये दुखद है.
And that, ladies and gentlemen, brings me to the legitimate question on the Newshour tonight. Can restraint alone help tackle the impact of war? That's the question, and that's the debate coming up on the other side.
You're watching the Newshour at 9. Debate number 1 on Times Now, Super Prime Time.
Joining the debate tonight, Pradeep Bhandari, national spokesperson of the BJP, Dr. Anand Ranganathan, author, Kishore Subramaniam, financial expert. Also joining the debate, Dr. Santosh Malhotra, senior economist, advocate Anmol Pawar, national spokesperson of the Aam Aadmi Party, advocate Sarvanan Annadurai, national spokesperson of the DMK. But my first question goes to Congress leader Sanjay Jha. Sanjay Jha, yes, we are in tough times. The government is very clear that there are some steps that have to be taken. They've taken the 3 steps: banning sugar exports, they've increased duties on gold, fuel usage restraints have been called for, because fuel and gold imports alone account for the top 2 items on our import list. Having said that, Sanjay Jha, why is the opposition still quibbling about whether we should get into, saving fuel or not? Can't you see what's happening on the global scene as far as oil prices are concerned? 61% hike in oil prices since the 28th of February. Our inflation numbers have hit a 42-month high. At this point, should the opposition rally around with the government to find new ideas and, to manage the situation, rather than quibbling over whether there is a photo op about fuel, saving, or whether it is just one drama that is going on? Can we rise above this, Sanjay Jha? Unmute yourself.
Navika, good evening to you and to all my eminent panelists on the program. I'm very glad we're discussing the economy, because I think this is the compelling subject that we need to be focused on. I'll cut out the rhetoric and come straight to your question. The reason why, Navika, we should be worried is because India, unlike we are not a Western nation with social security buffers and economies that are much bigger and populations that are much smaller. If you look at India, we have 800 million people living on free food grains. Whichever data point you take as a matter of yardstick, roughly 300 million people are living below the poverty line. And the disturbing data that cannot be ignored, and this is government data, tells you that over the last 7 years, we have grown at just 5.5% GDP. Over the last 12 years since Mr. Modi became Prime Minister, we have grown at just 6.2%. So the oil price hike, yes, there is no denying the West Asia war is impacting us as is impacting the world. But the questions are fundamental to why we are today perhaps more susceptible than other countries. Look at 1 or 2 points. We produce more degrees than we produce jobs. I was looking at a periodic labor force survey, and you look at for the last quarter for unemployment, the figure is 15%. It's a staggering number, can't be denied. You cannot make the rural area where roughly 90% of our informal sector is based, they cannot survive on subsidies. They need purchasing power. Where are you going to provide that if you don't create a booming economy? Private investment is not taking off, Navika, because I'll tell you, I live in Mumbai. I deal with a lot of people who are part of Indian industry. And I'll tell you why it's not taking off. It's not taking off because, one, there is tax terrorism. People are scared of the ED, CBI, IT network. And then they are scared if they make an investment, tomorrow a big crony capitalist will come and acquire them. So the incentive to invest is diminishing. So when you look at India in a larger ecosystem, why do you think the foreign portfolio investors have withdrawn $25 billion in the first 4 or 5 months of this year? Not because India doesn't remain an attractive market.
But then, Sanjay Jha, would you want to share the blame, because wealth creation has almost been given a bad name by the opposition as well? Wealth creators, industrialists, people who work for profit as the motive have been lampooned by the opposition itself. So share some part of that blame, Sanjay Jha. But let me get in.
Okay, let me just quickly answer you on that. Very quick. I won't take too long. I think the opposition, or rather the Congress, I can speak for the Congress here, and I think the India Alliance is mostly on the same page. We have always said that we want to boost industry, we want to have privatization, liberalization, the works. The Congress did it. But it does not mean that you create this cozy club of, very select industrialists who will dominate the economy. And that's one of the reasons why Mr. Modi's government is suffering. Over-dependence on a few.
Well,
India
then you're ignoring the entire startup story. But Pradeep Bhandari, are we looking at an economy in shambles, as Sanjay Jha says? Are we looking at tough times given inflation without the fuel price hike? Once that comes in, I don't know what will be the levels of inflation that we are talking about. We're talking about a current account deficit that's going to go up by leaps and bounds, simply because of the fuel import bill that we are carrying. And then look at the state. We can't even manage our NEET exams, where papers leak almost more than the monsoon in this country. I just want to ask you, are we losing the plot on the economy, even though on the political game, you are right on top?
Well, Navika ji, when we recall, there was a global emergency situation where there was a macroeconomic shock. It was at the time of COVID, and post-COVID, India emerged as the fastest growing economy despite all global bottlenecks and taking away the predictions by Sanjay Jha and others. I'll answer your question, but
that's history.
That's history.
That is history. That is, everything has evaporated after the 28th of February. So, Pradeep, while nobody can contest you on the politics, let's come back to reality and come back to terra firma on the ground situation today.
Well, Navika ji, on the ground situation as of right now, and the fact here is, and I'll just reiterate, Hong Kong has a petrol rupee per litre of 295, Singapore 240, Netherlands 225, Norway 215, United Kingdom 195, India 95. India is the country where there has been zero, and I reiterate, zero increase in petrol and diesel prices in the last 2.5 to 3 months.
Next to those numbers, please kindly add the per capita income, of every citizen in these countries.
I'll answer that
and
also.
their social security net.
If we take that, Navika ji, Hong Kong 25% increase, Singapore 30% increase, Germany 27% increase, France 25% increase, Japan 35% increase, India a zero increase. So with a 140 crore population, we have absorbed the macroeconomic shock as of right now. And I assure you, why I was referring to COVID, because at the time of COVID also, the Indian economy had its inherent strength where we could manage the larger global macroeconomic shock. But let me just come to a straight point. We should all lead by examples. The Prime Minister has reiterated that the large part of our forex reserves are going into A, fuel, B, gold. Why is it that the Congress party is choosing politics over economic national interest? And this is not for the first time. The Bharatiya Janata Party led governments are reducing their convoys, are going for austerity measures. What is the Aam Aadmi Party doing? It is flying in a fleet of more than 15 cars. What is Rahul Gandhi doing? Why is the Himachal Pradesh government, Karnataka and in fact Kerala now, where the Congress has power, what are they doing in order to absorb macroeconomic shocks? What are they doing in terms of their fiscal responsibility in their state government? They are doing nothing, because they are hoping that this will be a crisis through which they will have political opportunity.
On a lighter note, Pradeep, your victory marches in these states are done. You started your economizing campaign after that. यहाँ बिचारों का late decision हुआ है. Let them enjoy those convoys and road shows for a bit before.
आम आदमी पार्टी तो कहीं भी नहीं है. वो तो 15-15 गाड़ियों से जा रही है. But just 10 seconds.
1 minute. Why are we quibbling about what the Prime Minister's advice essentially is? The Prime Minister is saying the writing is on the wall, let's all read it and let's just get our act together as a nation. How can you find fault with that? In fact, if anything, the opposition should be asking the question, what more should we be doing? And that's the question we are asking tonight on the show. What more should we be doing other than economizing on our import bill through fuel and gold savings? What else can we do? But you are questioning even the first part of it.
Is that question
Good evening, Navika ji. Navika ji, when it comes to national interest, everyone must rise above petty politics. I agree with that, but we should face the reality as well. Today, the rupee is at an all-time low. The inflation is rising. The unemployment is at an all-time high. And the salaries are stagnant. LPG, whether it's LPG gas, vegetables, milk, everything is expensive. Common people are struggling to run their household. Now the question is whether our country is heading towards a major economic crisis, because I'll give you some facts. FDI fell by 159% since August 2025. More than 2 lakh crore foreign investors have pulled out from the economy. LPG prices increased of commercial cylinder by 1581 to 3100. According to the latest report 2026, 50,000 high net worth individuals have left India in last 5 years. Yesterday, the petroleum minister of our country said that we have reduced excise tax, and that's why the government is incurring a loss of 14,000 crore, but they failed to inform the citizens. Then in last 10 years, 16 times the excise tax has been increased.
The last when the fuel price was increased by this government was in 2022. For 4 years, there has been zero increase in the price of petrol and diesel. And more, stop lying. I was listening, but I will not let you lie. The government has not increased the price of petrol and diesel since 2022. You need to admit it, except the Aam Aadmi Party.
Pradeep, allow him to make his point. Yes, go on.
This is not the way to debate. Can I complete? This government promised of अच्छे दिन. This government said कि बहुत हुई महंगाई की मार. These kind of slogans were given, and now they are saying that we must show restraint, cut on petrol, diesel, vegetable cooking oil, gold. Gold contributes 7% of our GDP. More than 1 lakh people will get affected. Government ने उनके लिए क्या किया है कोई? और ये हमें कह रहे थे जी हम काफिले के साथ चलते हैं. सौभाग्य सिंह ठाकुर 700 गाड़ियों का काफिला भारतीय जनता पार्टी का विधायक, सम्राट चौधरी 50 गाड़ियों का काफिला, प्रीतम लोधी
सम्राट चौधरी एक गाड़ी से. झूठ मत बोलो. ये भगवंत मान है जो 15-15 गाड़ियों के साथ चल रहे हैं. झूठ मत बोलो केजरीवाल जी के प्रवक्ता.
तुम परेशान हो जाते.
अरे मैं परेशान नहीं है. टाइम्स ऑफ भारत की क्लिप चला रहा हूं मैं. ये देखो 15 गाड़ियों के साथ में. चलो अभी तो शो पे बोलोगे कि आप नहीं चलोगे गाड़ी के साथ.
Okay, 1 minute. Gentlemen, 1 minute. Anand Ranganathan and Mr. Malhotra, I'm coming to you, but Anand Ranganathan. Is politicization the answer? Are we not getting the reading on the wall? Are we quibbling? I mean, everybody knows that fuel, 88% India is dependent on its fuel requirements on imports, which is $123 billion this year, something that we cannot afford to do at this point when there is a West Asian crisis. Gold, unproductive asset, can be postponed as a purchase. But the opposition will not even agree on these two minimum factors. How else do you think are we going to tackle the economic crisis that is looming large? Fuel prices are likely to go up. The proposal is on the table of the petroleum minister, of the prime minister. It's a question of when they pick up. It can be Monday, it can be Wednesday, it can be Tuesday, it can be Friday. That's the way it's going. It's going to happen. We can quibble about the dates, but it will happen, which will push up inflation even more. And then we're talking about an economy that is facing headwinds. Already, Moody's has revised downwards the growth prospects from 6.8 to 6. I don't know how much lower it's going to be brought. But look at the fight that we're seeing between our ruling party and the opposition.
Good evening, Navika, and good evening to my fellow panelists. Look, it's unfortunate that there is political bickering, especially when we have facts at hand. And of course, there is no doubt that we are going through a difficult period. In January of this year, we were buying a barrel of Russian oil at $52. Today, we are buying it at $110. So it'll be silly to say buying oil at double the price wouldn't affect our economy. Of course it would. But it's not that we can't get over this blip. Indian economy is in good shape, and only the ignorant or the ones who are running propaganda would claim that it is dead. Last year, manufacturing sector contributed highest ever to our GDP, $490 billion. Under Congress in 2013, it was $280 billion. In 2013, our GDP was $1,850 billion. Today, it is $4,130 billion, more than double. Yes, percentage share of manufacturing has decreased, even though manufacturing contribution has increased from $280 to $490 billion. But our GDP has more than doubled. Manufacturing PMI in 2013 was 50. Today it is 59. Bottom line, our manufacturing as well as our GDP are growing year on year, just that other sectors have started contributing more to our GDP. Indian economy is in good shape. Just before the Iran war that we had nothing to do with, last year saw independent India's highest ever GST collection, $270 billion. Highest ever vehicle sales, 25 million. Highest ever income tax payer, 104 million. Highest ever manufacturing PMI, 59.2. Highest ever exports, $825 billion. Highest ever jobs created, 46 million. Highest ever forex reserves, $104 billion. Highest ever census, 86,100. Is this all lie? It gets even better. The economic growth is inclusive. Since 2014, our GDP, PPP, inflation adjusted is doubled to 11,000 USDs. In 2014, inflation was 10%. Today it is 2%. In 2014, multidimensional poverty as a percentage of population was 29%. Today it is 11%. We have pulled 250 million Indians out of abject poverty in the last 11 years. According to the World Bank, India is the fourth.
So you're saying there's nothing to worry? You're saying there's nothing to worry?
Quick rejoinder to Anand.
No, not at all. Of course, there is plenty to worry about for the reason that not enough action was taken in the last 2 months. So you were asking, ma'am, what should be the action that be taken right now? So I'm going to suggest actions, 3 or 4 of them, which should have been taken about 2 months ago. Firstly, the extent of fertilizer subsidy is costing the government of India 1.85 lakh crores last year, and it's going to be 2.3 lakh crores this year. Unfortunately, 85% of this subsidy is accounted for by urea, which is also imported. So this is damaging the soil, 1. 2, it's hurting the farmer because it's reducing yields. 3, it's damaging our governments because it's a waste of money, of precious government money. So, absolutely critical we use this opportunity of the price hike that has taken place in fertilizers generally and the drop in the rupee to increase the price of urea. That will reduce the consumption of urea, and it will help the soil, it will help the farmer because it will improve yields, and it will actually cut the fiscal situation. Second, I would have, just as you rightly pointed out, listed a dozen countries which have increased petrol prices. We should have increased petrol prices long ago, 2 months ago, because we used to be in 2014 only 70% dependent. We are now 88% dependent for imported oil. We should therefore, and in a situation where the rupee is falling against the dollar, we should immediately raise the price of petrol. I'm glad to hear that the cabinet is considering that. I hope they don't raise the price of diesel, because that's going to cause inflation. Thirdly, it's critical that they increase, I'm glad that they've raised duty on gold imports. They should increase the domestic tax on gold so that gold imports fall. You're right that our foreign exchange reserves should not be wasted on gold under the current circumstances. Let's just remember that our balance of payments has deteriorated. Our current account deficit is currently at 1%. It will rise to 2%, no question about it, partly because of the decline in the dollar. And let's just not forget that the government of India, let's not say, oh, we're 30,000 crores per month is being lost by the oil management companies. The fact of the matter is that in the last 10 years, because of the windfall gain the government of India experienced, because until 2014, the international oil price used to be well over $100 per barrel.
But then that is the reason they have absorbed. That is the reason for the last 2 months they have absorbed, the losses without raising prices.
Navika ji, 20 seconds
to absorb it. I'm pleased to hear that at least realizing that they've had a windfall gain of 30 lakh crores in the last 10 years, which they've misused massively, which is the reason why there is still a fiscal deficit. They've also misused in the sense that corporate income tax was cut, personal income tax was cut. That's not very sensible policy. The chickens are coming home to roost. Thank you very much.
Well, chickens are coming home to roost. Pradeep, I'm coming to you, but let me just get in Kishore Subramanian. Kishore Subramanian, do you agree with Professor Malhotra? Because he says we frittered away the good times and now we are up against a wall.
Okay, Navika, good evening to you and my fellow panelists. First, direct answer to you, I have generally not agreed with Mr. Malhotra on most of the economic decisions, despite the fact that I have huge respect for him in terms of being an economist. But as a financial expert and as a person who understands economics and the financial condition, let me answer, give me my time. I've been patient for about 25 to 30 minutes. First point, let me start with what Mr. Sanjay Jha said. If he's talking as a representative of Congress, which I seriously doubt is he one, I think he has no locus standi to even talk about that. Fundamentally because of 3 points. Number one, when the Congress ruled India for over 45 years, by 1991, we were a bankrupt country. So balance of payment, current account deficits, all metrics were out of the window. Point number two, Congress has this bad habit of attacking the government on anything and everything. If it raises the petrol rate, it's going to come and tell you, oh my God, the common man, Aam Aadmi is suffering. And if it reduces, it'll say that's not a big deal. You know, during our times, the Brent crude was above $130. Now it is 52. It's very easy. If we would have been there, we would have reduced it. So Congress local standing, I don't even come to it. See, Anand Ranganathan, whom I have huge respect for, did rattle a lot of points. I don't want to repeat. But let me tell you some critical points at this juncture. India today is at a situation where its foreign exchange reserve is at its highest. Remember, when every single country is raising the fuel cost, this is a country which is able to hold its fort and say that For the common man, I'm not going to raise. It's time, I think, if the war continues for the next 3 weeks, and I'm telling you if, because considering the very fluid situation and the whims and fancies of Mr. Donald Trump and the way Iran is reacting to it, I don't know. It can stop in 1 week, 10 days, or there may be no end in sight like the Ukraine war. India has been lucky, and Indians have been really lucky for the fact of the matter that this government's fiscal prudence has helped us, as you rightly said, that cushion that we got to ensure that the common man doesn't suffer. And even if there is a raise, I personally believe it's not going to be more than 5 and 10%, and that diesel has to be raised along with petrol. You can't unilaterally only raise petrol.
Yes, but you had huge respect for Dr. Malhotra's economics, and you're saying there shouldn't be a difference between petrol and diesel price hikes. Yeah. But Sanjay, why have you been laughing? I don't think Mr. Krishnamurthy was giving any jokes over here. What he said made absolute sense.
Well, Navika, I don't firstly make personal cheap digs at people, so I'll avoid doing what he did. Let me come to the, I want to skip the rhetoric here. Let's look at data. Here is the data.
No, Sanjay, I told you I took digs at you as a congressperson. Please understand, personally, I did not attack you. Just for clarification.
Anyway, Navika, let's look at the fundamental problem. India is suffering today because you have a situation where there is billionaire capitalism or billionaire shining, and that is the reason why private investment is...
That is the atmosphere that has resulted in losses. Billionaire atmosphere. Do you realize that we have 2 lakh startups?
Which country,
25 unicorns are now actually about 4 unicorns in your time are now 125 unicorns. But of course, you'll miss the wood for the trees.
Navika ji, my dear friend Sanjay was speaking about data, and I will just quote data. 2013, our foreign exchange reserve $275 billion. At this moment, $690 billion. The last report of Moody's in May 2026, and I quote the Moody's report, it says that India is better placed than any other competing economy to absorb future global shocks, supported by strong foreign exchange reserves, a stable and predictable policy framework, and deep domestic capital market. During your time, we were known for twin deficits. Now, recently we were known for a Goldilocks phase in Indian economy. Stop spreading panic. Yes, the situation globally is an unprecedented situation, but the Indian economy has inherent strength. It ensured that after COVID it emerged stronger. We will ensure that after the global energy crisis we will emerge stronger. You need to admit and appreciate that from the last 2.5 to 3 months the common man has not suffered.
This is once again an issue that I have a problem with as an Indian. And Sarvanan, I want to ask you, should we be here actually counting our brownie points? I did better, you did worse, or should we be looking as a country at what more can be done so that this backlash of the current geopolitical situation is minimized and cushioned for the common man? The Prime Minister has made some suggestions, some advice that he's put out. Can the opposition rise above sniggering and come up with a few more ideas, at least have constructive politics here?
Yeah. See, do unto others what you want others do unto you. What did the BJP government do in 2013 when the oil prices went up? Did they not take up rallies with the cylinders, with all everything? And what did they do when the Indian rupee was coming down against the dollar? Did they not criticize that? Did they not say that the economy was in the ICU? So, by the same yardstick of the BJP, how was our economy performing?
Because you had a 5% current account deficit then and a 9% fiscal deficit then. Sarvanan, we right now have a 1.5% current account deficit and a 4% fiscal deficit.
I understand you are
appreciate that.
So please allow me to speak.
Nation building.
We all know that. Everybody understands that. See, and the most important aspect is you deregularized, the UPA government deregularized the oil prices. Why was it deregularized? Only because the ups and downs of the crude oil prices will fall upon the consumer. But what did the union government do in the last 10 years?
Oil bonds worth more than 1 lakh crore because of which we were suffering. We had to repay that debt, repay that interest.
Can you ask him to stop?
Go ahead.
Can you ask him to stop?
But it's true.
Yeah.
But it's true.
So just a moment.
You left oil bonds.
Just a moment.
You know, don't say you were prudent. You left oil bonds for future generations to pay.
Just a moment. 36 lakh crores was the windfall profit earned by the government from 2014 to 2024. And now they say it will come around, until now it will come around to 48 lakh crores. What happened to that? What happened to that 48
people were lifted out of poverty?
And to top of all that, we imported cheap Russian crude. Who was benefited by that? Did that benefit
the common man? That's why for the last 2.5 months we have zero increase in price of petrol and diesel. Sir, ये जादू नहीं था, ऐसे हो गया. It's the government which has acted as a wall between the price rise and the common man.
About the common man.
The common man in the Indian common man is the only person who has suffered zero in the last 2.5 to 3 months.
Has the common Indian suffered zero
in terms of petrol and diesel price rise?
Has the common man suffered zero? You know, I mean, that's another extreme that we are going to. Anand.
Thank you, Navika. I gave 19 facts, and I'm very thankful my good friend Kishorji appreciated them, and nobody could refute them because they are facts. Now, let me just give you, in 30 seconds, 2 more facts. The fact of the matter is that in the last 10, 11 years, in fact, in the last 40, 50 years, the government, cutting across party lines, has been using petroleum sector as a cash cow. When Sarvananji asked, why all that money that has been collected, where is all going? Do you know what Vijay said? Tamil Nadu has a debt of 10 lakh crores. Who's going to pay for it? Who has paid for 100 million toilets? Who has paid for 100 million gas connections? Who has paid for 100 million tap water connection? Who has paid for your vaccine 2 billion round the wing? It is going for welfare. Now the point of the matter is, okay, 60% of the fuel that you get on the pump is taxed by center and states. Are you so touchy about it? Then reduce the state tax. Why don't you do that? The point of the matter is, whatever Mr. Malhotra did are the things that government should do, but the opposition would not ask it to do. Because the moment you decrease the urea subsidy, the moment you increase the petrol prices, Sanjay Jha and others will be first on the road.
Absolutely.
The
economists will tell you that overuse of urea on the ground is creating problems for the agriculture sector, and prices of urea should be raised. But try and do that, or आपका Punjab election बीच में आ जाएगा. You will play to the gallery for the farmers in Punjab. That is how economics runs in our country.
Navika.
Coming to you, Kishorji.
Navika, just give me... In 2015, the Modi government introduced Krishi Vikas Yojana for the farmers, Jaivik Kheti portal. They also formed a portal. In 2023, on exactly 28th October 2023, PM Pranam scheme was launched, wherein they announced that 50% of fertilizer subsidy will be given to state or union territory, but the mechanism was not formed for 2 years, 2.5 years. दिया ही नहीं गया कभी. जो सरकार खुद कहती थी कि फर्टिलाइजर का इस्तेमाल करो, उसने कभी भी जो है ना स्टेट को पैसा दिया ना किसानों को दिया. And we have a case scenario. श्रीलंका में देखिए क्या हुआ था.
He's spreading fake news.
There वहां पे विद्रोह कर दिया किसानों ने.
अरे सर झूठ मत बोलो, किसानों को लाठी डंडे आप लोग पीटते हो. Youth unemployment is the maximum in Punjab. Punjab has the maximum debt. The top 3 states with maximum debt is Punjab, Kerala and Tamil Nadu. All 3 ruled by the opposition. Because you are spreading fake news about my government, sir. It is my duty to expose that.
He gets rattled.
I am not getting rattled. You are rattled. I am not rattled. You first reduce your convoy.
He starts interrupting.
You are spreading fake news. Show data.
He starts interrupting. He behaves very childish.
No, I am not. That is Arvind Kejriwal to do. I don't do that. That's Mr. Kejriwal to behave childish.
This is not the way to debate. Pradeep ji, grow up. Please grow up.
No, I have grown up. Mr. Kejriwal has not grown up.
Okay, one minute. Kishore Krishnamurthy. Economists may suggest something, politicians will deny it. And then this political brownie point scoring becomes the main occupation of the nation's political class. Can we find any solution in this kind of a scenario?
Yeah. Yeah, okay. So I'll not take more than 1 minute. That is 2 Anand Ranganathan slots. So first, my friend DMK, Mr. Saravanan, should remember that they do not even understand economic dharma apart from various other dharmas which they don't understand. Point number 2, when it comes to the BJP, whether it was between 98, the Vajpayee government, and between 2014 and now, remember India has been before 2014, India was handed over as a fragile 5. Today we are among the top 5-6. So remember one thing, that every time the BJP has come to power, whether it was Vajpayee, whether it is Narendra Modi ji, our economic condition has been superb. There is no denying, there is no data that can be denied. And I don't want to keep rattling data because I can go on for hours together. But having said, Navika, answering your question, can we deny the fact that the politicians will be bickering on the points and the economists will say, today we are in a situation where we are almost at the brink of rising the fuel prices, and India should do it. Every single person should face the brunt. Remember, after COVID, the stock market had a V-shaped growth. The stock market, Sensex fell from 42,000 to 25,000. Today we are at 75,000. In the last 1.5 years, despite the Ukraine war parallelly going on, despite the crude issue, despite the Iran war, our index has not corrected 11%. And let's not forget that during the Congress, when the financial crisis happened,
all I'm saying is, if inflation is at a 42-month high today and an impending fuel price hike is imminent, this inflation number will increase. When economists suggest that we must take more steps to correct, some reforms need to be brought into the economics of this nation, then this is the time to do it. However, to pretend that political arguments and debates are the only occupation that India should be involved in is something that we need to shed. There is a crisis in the world. Wake up. Smell the coffee, let's get our thinking hats on and come up with the best solutions to fight this impending crisis. Can we do that as a nation? I don't know, because every advice and sane advice given by the Prime Minister is only countered by quibbling, bickering and arguments that are devoid of logic. And we ask this question to the people of India. Centre's restraint advice enough to tackle impact of war? Yes, say 62% of the people. No, say 30%. 30% people, Pradeep Bhandari, believe that more steps are to be taken. Reducing sizes of convoys or chief ministers going on motorcycles may not be enough. It's great to set an example, to drive home a point to the people, but we need to go further than that, because if we don't take steps soon enough, some people saying it's already late, but if we don't really get our act together, will we suffer more? Can we afford another slowdown right after the COVID slowdown and recovery? I don't think so. So guys, let's just get together and fight this. Thank you very much to all my panelists joining me on debate number 1.